afternoon. Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle. I am Lorianne Casdia, and our goal, as you should know by now, at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower others to fulfilling a healthy emotional, spiritual, and physical life so that they can feel empowered to live the life they always wanted and dreamed. We should lift each other up, encouragement, and positivity. We are here to serve each other, and I am driven by a desire to leave the world better than the one we inherited. And I relish the opportunity to make a difference one person at a time. And today we're going to make a difference by speaking to two outstanding guests. Our first guest is Dr. Vinny from Fusion Healthcare, Port Jeff Station. He's been on the air before with us, and they are located in front of Uncle Giuseppe's down in Port Jeff Station. Dr. Vinny, welcome.
Thanks for having me back on.
Very happy to have you on. So, being that the weather has been so nice and beautiful, and we're out there sunning and boating and motorcycling and golfing and doing all those outdoor wonderful things with our family, what should we be thinking of?
Sun care, maybe?
There you go. So there is this ongoing discussion about, 100, 50. What's the real skinny on this?
Well, the real skinny is don't waste your money. That's the real skinny.
Nice.
Basically, if everybody goes out there and they look for the highest level of SPF, which is SPF stands for sun protection factor, basically. And the truth of the matter is, when you look at the curve of protection, there are different types of wavelengths of light that we're looking at looking at protecting ourselves from. Mm-hmm. There's the UVA and the UVB. The UVA is the longer wavelength light that penetrates the skin deeper into the lower parts of the skin aspects.
Okay.
UVB is what gives us a sunburn, basically. That's the one that produces the suntan or the sunburn. That's the one that gives us the skin cancer, the majority of the skin cancers.
Okay.
So what we're looking for is that protection from the UVB radiation, basically. When you look at the curve for sun protection factor, the SPF 15 prevents 93% of the UVB radiation going into the body or going into your skin. SPF 30 protects 97% of the UVB radiation from going in. And if you can go up to 100, it only gives you another 1%.
Okay.
So basically, if you're looking at the best bang for your buck, let's say,
right.
SPF 30 is the best bang for your buck.
So why do they sell 100 if it's only 1% more? I don't understand. Why do they sell it like that?
Why do they supersize McDonald's Happy Meals?
Because they can.
Because they can. And basically they appeal to the consumer looking at, well, if 30 is good, then 50 is better. If 50 is good, then 100 is better.
Right.
Which it really isn't, basically. 30 is all you basically need, but it's the biggest part about it is how much you put on and how often you put it on, basically.
And that's the key, is that as you sit there, sweat out, or you go in the water, you have to reapply, right?
Correct. Even the products that say we're waterproof or sweat proof, basically, we find that we're not using it properly as well. So if you're going to go in the water, you should be applying at least 30 minutes before you go in the water. So it actually penetrates into the dermal layers of the skin. So it's just not on the top of your skin and kind of goes away, basically.
Sure.
And then if you're in the water, you shouldn't wait 2 hours to put it on. You should only wait between 60 and 90 minutes to reapply at that point. So you're putting on another layer to protect yourself from all the product that could have been washed away while you're in the water or while you've been sweating and so on and so forth.
So you should reapply. So if you're out doing outdoor sports or boating or something where you're not actually in the water, you should continue to apply, not just once and done.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and yes, and there are so many myths about, tanning and how often to apply and so on and so forth. I'm just, people don't seem to understand that it's very important that every 2 to 3 hours they should be reapplying their sunscreen in order to protect themselves.
Oh, I don't do that. But then again, I came up when, I was in my 20s. We used to use oil.
Oh, yeah, baby oil. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And those reflective things?
Oh, you mean the big solar shades that sit in front of you to get that nice tan on your face?
It was a good color, though.
It was
amazing.
Red is very good.
But then I got scared to death, and they were like, no, you're going to get skin cancer. And that's a very chilling thought. So you stop doing that. But, we used to do the baby oil and what is it, banana boat oil?
There you go.
So,
Well, let's see, like the SPF 2 and SPF 4. It just gives you a little bit of protection. So there are a lot of myths, though, about when you should and should not use sunscreen. People say on a cloudy day you don't need sunscreen. It's absolutely incorrect.
you need it more, don't you?
You absolutely still need sunscreen on a cloudy day because the radiation that's produced by that sunlight coming through the clouds don't stop the radiation. It may weaken it slightly, but you can still get a burn on a cloudy day. It still has that possibility.
Gotcha. When you say anytime you use the terminology radiation, that's terrifying.
It is, but
but it's not radiation like your microwave radiation. It's a different kind of radiation, isn't it?
Similar but different. The wavelength on your microwave is a little bit different, but radiation is radiation.
Right.
X-rays are radiation, CAT scans are radiation, microwaves are even radio waves are radiation. They're all different lengths of that bandwidth, basically, that gives us that ability to different things to occur to us. And radiation produces cancer, unfortunately. We've found that out, and that's where we come up with the melanomas and the basal cell carcinomas and the squamous cell carcinomas. It's as a direct result of radiation, and that radiation comes from the sun, basically. Wow.
So definitely we have to absolutely reapply. Reapplying is very important. And you said how often?
Well, if you're not going to be out, if you're not doing any activities and you're just sitting there, every 2 to 3 hours, maximum 3 hours.
And in cloudy days, same thing?
Same thing. Doesn't make a difference.
Every 2 to 3 hours.
Every 2 to 3 hours you should be reapplying. And that's where you're going to get a good amount of protection. Now, again, that's not protecting you completely, but at SPF 30, you're going to get 97 to 98% protection from the UVB radiation.
Wow. And here we are, putting on 100, although I generally do 30. And what's the difference between the sprays? Do the sprays work as well as the lotions? Do you have any recommendation that way?
You can still use the sprays. The sprays are good, especially for kids because it's easier to get it on them a lot
of times. You got to catch them first.
When you're chasing them, of course. But again, you have to rub it in. You can't just spray it on them. You have to apply it. So in the application process is just not spraying it on. You have to actually rub it into the skin so it just doesn't sit on top of the skin.
Really? Yeah, okay. I did not know that.
Absolutely. It's the best way to get the best penetration.
So the advantage of the spray is to the lotion is what then? If you have to rub it in anyway,
it's easily applied, and the absorption it's micronized particle, so it's absorbed a little bit differently.
And don't you get the proper application through the spray as opposed to sometimes I don't know if your mom did this, but I was like a ghost when my mom first started putting on. I'm like, don't do that.
That's one of the benefits of using the spray. You don't look like you have these white streaks all over your face or your body, basically, and it does cover more evenly. Correct, absolutely. But people, again, and again, going back to one of the other myths, people say, well, I'm sitting underneath the umbrella. I don't need to apply sunscreen. That's completely incorrect.
Why?
Because wherever you're sitting, most of the time people are sitting at the beach, 17% of that sun radiation reflects off the sand and bounces back at you. So you're still getting that same radiation, that same sun exposure, or some of it at least, while you're underneath the umbrella. So even if you're under the umbrella, guys, put on some sunscreen. You may not have to apply it as much or as often, but if you're going to be under that umbrella for a long period of time, but you really need to keep applying that sunscreen.
So really, really important stuff. So 2 to 3 hours reapplying, doesn't matter if it's cloudy or sunny.
Correct.
And SPF 30 is more than effective.
Correct.
Although they can spend money and buy the higher SPF,
sure,
but you're only getting one more percentage above 30%.
Sure. But when you're buying a product, you should look for what they call broad spectrum coverage.
Okay.
So there's differences because that covers the UVA radiation as well. Mm-hmm. So some of these products allow us to get that coverage for both UVA and UVB radiation, which is important. A lot of products here in the United States, you'll start seeing broad spectrum coverage on. So the Carpetone products and so on, Banana Boat products. A lot of the better products actually come out of Europe because they're using ingredients that the FDA hasn't approved here in the United States yet. That is proven to have better broad spectrum coverage.
And why hasn't the FDA approved it here yet? Well, it's the FDA.
That's correct. The European FDA tends to be a little bit more progressive and a little bit more in tune to what the needs of the people are. Where unfortunately, and I don't want to become political, but we're in a society where it takes a long time for new things to get through here. That's a long process, the FDA process, without a doubt. I've heard that a lot, not only on products like this, but medications. It's completely. It's crazy. It doesn't. It could take 10 to 15 years for something to come to fruition, and that's a long time, unfortunately. Wow, that is just amazing. You are listening to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lorianne Casdia, and we are on Long Island News Radio 103.9, and we're speaking with Dr. Vinny from Fusion Healthcare, Port Jeff Station.
Right across from Uncle Giuseppe's. So it's nice. You go see Dr. Vin, and then you go across the street and you get some healthy food at Uncle Giuseppe's.
All that healthy, great food, that Italian food, yes.
Yes. Well, I'm Italian. Easy there. Easy. So let's just off of the sun care for a moment.
Sure.
And let's talk about another thing that as parents we worry about with our children, our animals, ourselves, ticks.
Okay.
How do we take care of ourselves to prevent that? Because they are jumping like crazy this season.
Move.
All right.
That's the easiest. That's the easiest thing
Easiest
to do right
is
now,
move,
actually.
but how about another alternative to that?
we want to keep you guys here on Long Island, so we're going to
Yes,
try.
we would.
We're going to try and keep you listening to us as well. The biggest thing is prevention, basically. Either covering yourself when you're out in the areas where you think you're going to be, or applying products that will help prevent ticks coming on board with you. That's the biggest thing.
Now, there's a lot of natural products that you could utilize as opposed to the DEETs and things like that.
Correct.
Do you have any preferences, any direction that you would really recommend? Not product specific, but
well, I don't want to speak of any individual product, but DEET unfortunately does not protect against ticks. It doesn't repel ticks. Unfortunately, it repels everything else in the world except for ticks.
Right. It repels people too. It smells horrible.
It does. It's absolutely horrible. It does not.
It's not good for you, and it doesn't smell good either.
Absolutely. There are a lot of natural remedies or applications that you can use to help remove ticks.
I know tea tree oil, and that's a very effective for a lot of things.
Concoctions like cedarwood with geranium and Palo Santo. When you can find these online actually, and they're proven very well, and they're not healthy. Let me use a double negative there. They're okay for you to use, where some of these other products...
these are all plant-based. These are essential oils. So what you were just mentioning are essential oils, and you buy them in small little bottles, and you just use a couple of drops of it. And then what you do is you take that and you use you mix them together, and you use a few drops, about 20 drops, in a teaspoon of witch hazel and water.
Correct. Exactly.
And then you make your own spray, and you spray it on yourself, your clothes. It doesn't affect or mark your clothes. And a good, just so that the listeners know this, a good understanding of essential oils, it won't have something called carrier oils in it.
Correct.
A carrier oil would be something like olive oil or your apricot oil, or what that does is it allows it causes a grease stain, if you will, because any carrier oil will leave a grease stain. So if you're not sure if your essential oils have a carrier in it, if it doesn't say it should articulate that on the container, but if it doesn't, just drop a little drop of it on a piece of paper. It will evaporate if it's pure essential oil.
Correct.
And if it has carrier in it, it'll leave like a little round oil stain.
Little ring on it, correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the carrier oils, depending on the carrier oil, can actually attract insects instead of repel them. So you have to be very careful with that if you're going to do it on your own. But you can find products online, and I'm not going to recommend any, but or speak of any individually, but there are several natural products online that are very effective towards keeping yourselves and your family safe from ticks.
I actually use a concoction of essential oils, and I put it in that spray. Okay. And when I go over to Davis Park, which has a propensity to have a lot of ticks, it has a propensity to have a lot of mosquitoes, I actually go in the house and I spray all the screens on the windows. Yep. So it kind of makes them back up a little bit.
Sure.
And it's helpful. It's helpful. Plus, it makes the room smell really, really nice. So and it goes back to that for me.
Geranium and cedarwood, they'll have very nice fragrance as well. So it's not very offensive like unfortunately DEET is.
Yeah, and tea tree is a little heady, but you usually combine it with something else, and it cuts that heady kind of scent to it. Because tea tree you got to get used to.
Correct.
That's a different kind of scent. And one of the other ones you had mentioned,
Palo Santo.
Palo Santo. That's a very heady.
It's a strong aroma on that one.
Yeah. So,
but
those
very few drops of the Palo Santo. I think it's 4 or 5 drops you use of Palo Santo.
Yeah, and that's a lot. That's a lot because you're making a batch before you add it to the witch hazel. You can find all this stuff online, or if you want to email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to send you a couple of different recipes that would help you if you wanted to make your own. Or there's plenty of products that are pre-made online if you want to do that. But so what are other things that we can do to protect ourselves from the ticks? Because obviously there's bad side effects to getting bit by some ticks.
Some ticks, correct. Basically is doing skin checks, or body checks every time you're out. at the end of the day, beginning of the day, you check yourself twice, your spouse, your significant other, you check in your kids.
Pets.
Check your pets. We do it on a regular basis. I have dogs myself, and I pull them off my dogs regularly. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to, for the dogs, of course, they have the collars and they have the drops, and for humans, it's a little bit different. So we have to be a little bit more aggressive, and we have to be a little bit more diligent on how we protect ourselves, basically, because we can't put a couple of drops behind our neck and, walk around, and we won't get fleas and ticks like the dogs will,
right.
Or our cats. But even your pets, you have to be very cautious, because the pets can carry them into the house,
and then they hop on you.
That's correct. So being diligent and looking, making sure when you bathe on, regularly, you're checking yourself, or having your spouse or your significant other check you, and then checking your children as well, because the kids are very prone to it, because they're out there running around playing. And they don't need to be in any place that's heavily wooded. We live in ground zero for ticks and Lyme's and all these other great diseases that the ticks carry us, and that's where we are right now. So
right, but like anything else, if we're preventative, if we're cautious, if we take these extra little steps, we can avoid having a major catastrophe happen. Correct. And you could still enjoy the life. I mean, that's one of the things I love about the lifestyle here. It is heavily treed.
Right.
We do have a lot of water, and all that is just a breeding ground for both ticks and mosquitoes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's we just have everything all wrapped into one. But again, with prevention, we can lead a very enjoyable lifestyle without having to worry about it.
Yeah. What about citronella plants? Do you have a propensity? Is that helpful? Putting a couple of citronella plants around your property or on your decks or where you're hanging out, does that kind of bait them away, or it's not really effective unless you have a lot of...
There is some effect to it, but people don't use citronella properly either. Unfortunately, they put the citronella candles in the middle of their table.
Yeah, no, they should put them on the
And they should put them on the outsides of the perimeters, because that's what attracts them. The citronella, the fragrance of the citronella attracts the mosquitoes and the bugs and other insects to that scent, basically. So keeping that citronella candle on the middle of your table, you think you may be doing the right thing by that, but you're actually doing the absolute wrong thing, because you're bringing all the bugs to you instead of keeping them away from you.
So if you keep them in a perimeter, it's almost like setting up a little circle around your shield. Yeah,
basically.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with the little tiki torches, because they have the citronella oils that they burn off.
In the tiki torches.
And you just put them around the perimeter, and the bugs kind of stay to the perimeter instead of coming into the central area where you and your guests are sitting and relaxing.
And enjoying, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Does the citronella help with ticks or no? Do ticks? Somebody told me. I don't know if this is also one of those falsehoods.
Sure.
Fake news as our
fake news
as our
not here on Long Island Radio.
That's absolutely not here on Long Island Radio, especially on a healthy lifestyle. Do ticks only come out at night?
No,
I mean, during the day, rather?
No, absolutely not.
They're always there. So I could walk out in tall grass at night, and they're still going to jump on us.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. They don't go to sleep. They take any opportunity to find their next meal, unfortunately.
There's no night time?
There's no night time.
Oh, darn.
Absolutely. Because we would all be nocturnal, and we'd all be out at night, and the techs be living out during the day.
This is true. This is true. This is very true. So, all right. I love getting rid of some of these fallacies. I appreciate you bringing that on. Anything else that we should kind of help everybody out with for the next couple of months, because it's warm out? Obviously, we need to hydrate.
Hydrate's the biggest thing, guys. You have to drink. The majority of people are not hydrating enough.
Well, you mean water, not necessarily...
Yes.
When you say that, I'm thinking vodka.
Yes.
You probably don't mean that.
The clear liquid is water, not vodka. That's correct, Lori.
Darn.
But yes, and actually vodka
Killjoy, Dr. Van.
That'll dehydrate you even more, Lori. But the big thing is water. The majority of people do not drink enough water. We should be drinking anywhere between 80 and 100 ounces of water a day in the minimum, and especially if we're sweating a little bit more than that. So you're talking close to a gallon of water a day.
Isn't that crazy? To me, that's a crazy number, but you really do have to drink it.
You do, and you have to think about it. We're 80% made of water. That's what our body's composed of. Don't you think we're going to need that amount to replace? It's just one of those things.
Well, now you're being logical. Stop yourself.
I'm not being logical.
Stop yourself.
I'm being a realist on this one.
You are being realist. No, that's really good. Great information. Really love having you on. Want to have you back.
Would love to be here.
When people want to find you, Dr. Vin, how do they find you?
They can find me at Fusion Healthcare, again, Port Jeff Station. My phone number there is 631-320-7503, or you can look us up on the website, www.fusioncare.us, or on Facebook at Fusion Healthcare.
And it's a wonderful place to go. You're very respectful of people's time, and I really appreciate that as one of your patients. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on. I look forward to having you back. And everyone, we will be right back with our next guest. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lori Ann. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas on topics you'd like to hear more about, please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com and follow us on social media at Healthy Lifestyle with LA. Well, back today with us for our second half of the show is our wonderful Donna Martini. She is a wellness activist, a coach, a speaker, and a writer. Welcome back, Donna.
Excited to be here with you today. We have some good stuff to talk about too, I heard, right?
We definitely do. So I want to talk more about something that I heard. So a very dear friend of mine, unfortunately, had a tragedy happen. His nephew just passed away at the age of 20. Today would have been his 21st birthday. A lot of this stuff is going on. I'm hearing it more and more. I have another friend. She lost her son at 17. I've heard more and more people who have had this happen. How? Why? What are we doing wrong, Donna?
So
Help
first,
us.
let's tell the audience what they died of, and that was drug overdose.
Well, some of them was drug overdose. Some of it was taking of their own life. So it was a combination.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on? What are we doing wrong as a parent? We just suffer, and when we hear this happening, it's a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. What are we doing?
Well, this has been predictable. I mean, I was coming out to legislators 20 years ago saying we have to start taking the sugar out of their food. We have to start teaching them how to meditate, how to love one another. We got to bring love back in the schools. You're taking God out. Well, you need to put something in.
Spiritual, yeah.
Yeah, they need to learn how their bodies work, how it affects their moods. We are living in a very stressful state of being all the time and not understanding that our energy is affecting our children. We are one on a cellular level, and this is now stuff that's proven. 20 years ago, however, it was harder to prove this. So I had a difficult time expressing. And, sugar's not that bad. Or, now we know it's one of the worst things you could do. But, they didn't relate back then. And I was a simple-minded person. And I said, the first addiction is sugar. And that hits the exact same center as the cocaine, heroin center in your body, dopamine, that connection. So if you're going to self-medicate as a child, you're brought up on sugar, now you don't feel well about yourself, so you're eating that kind of foods, and it's readily available. And then we're going from there, maybe that's not enough anymore, it goes to alcohol, and then we go to a drug, blah, blah, blah. Or some kids are so neurologically imbalanced because of the diets that they're on, basically it's not even their fault. A lot of people are buying foods that are stripped of its nutrients. They don't have anything good in them anymore.
There's no realness to it.
We were raised, and I'm 57, but we were raised on a better diet.
Yeah.
So we're actually balancing, we're getting sick now, but we were for years able to sustain.
I have seen such a difference on the removal of carbs in my diet and my moods and my energy level. It's ridiculous. And at my, older age to have just started doing that, just think of what would happen. I mean, my 22-year-old, he does it now. He eats really healthy food. He's a farm to table guy. And it seems like the 20s generation is trying to bring that back. But we all need to eat better. And like you're saying, that removal of sugar is important.
But
the
we
removal
knew this.
of carb.
And even though we didn't maybe know it 20 years ago, people like me, wellness professionals, were saying it. There's going to be a trend. It's going to get worse. Parents are drinking and smoking pot, and their kids are watching it. They're using that to escape. More of us need to set the example. We have to,
what are we escaping from?
Do.
What are we escaping from?
Stress about the energy that's being spread, negative energy. We're getting worse as a society. You know now that there's no decorum, right? I mean, years ago, you would never insult in public your president, or you would never.
Oh, no. It's because whether or not you agree with the president, you have respect for the position that they hold.
Or even your teacher or anybody in your life.
Your principal, your teacher, anybody in a position of authority, you would respect the position that they held, whether or not you agreed with their positioning, you would respect the position. And I don't see that anymore. I mean, look at our news. Our people are just doing things and saying things on as newscasters. It's disrespectful, and they're not even fact checked it.
No, some of them are not, right. So, but that if it's on the news, a lot of people believe in it and buy into it. But it's also mimicking what they feel or think. So it helps them to feel better about the crap they're sitting in.
It validates the crap.
Right. And when I say crap, I don't mean to say that their opinions are crap. I mean to say the negativity that goes with that.
Yes.
And a lot of that comes from not feeling they have the ability to change things or have a voice.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that one of the best things that we have right now, even though it seems like it's the worst, is social media. Because where else could we get a platform where thousands of people can hear us if we weren't on radio or TV or had no opportunity to be there?
Well, that's true. So I have two feelings on it, because I believe strongly in some of this tragedy is because of bullying on social media. And that it's so avoidable. And in any good thing, there's going to be bad, and people are going to use it badly. But like you said, it's a platform where you and I can reach people that normally we would never have been able to reach and express. But just like TV stations, radio stations, social media, you're going to go to things that are of like mind. So if someone thinks a certain way, you can find a TV station, a radio station, or a social media platform, or follow people with the same like-mindedness. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I mean, obviously, we're in the healthcare, lifting people up, spiritualism. We're in that kind of mindset. So if you look at my followers, they're all of similar and like-mindedness. What about the people that we're losing, some of these kids?
Well, I think that our children are saying we don't feel grounded. They're not using those specific words when I speak to them. And I used to have a radio show on Long Island University campus, so I used to have the kids around all the time. And they feel that some of their friends didn't believe in anything, no God, no nothing higher, because they didn't feel that ability, but they was dying for it. They wanted to know there's more than this, what they're feeling right now.
Sure.
But you have to understand, like, their bodies don't have a shot in hell of being able to raise up if they don't have goodness in it. If they're raised, I mean, now even with all of the things we put into them from birth on, with just injections and the idea that their food is so stripped, if they can't afford to eat organic, or their parents are working and they don't have the time to make the good food, their schools are not giving the best of foods.
Oh, gosh, no.
But this is what they're running on, and they're building their bodies on. How do we think that they can think?
Yeah.
The pressure we put on them. When I saw my daughter's schoolwork, she's 27 now, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do her high school work.
It's just totally, I totally agree with that, because when my sons were going through school, I remember what they were learning in first grade. My son, who's 7 years older than my second son, he was learning that in fourth grade. They've really kind of consolidated and smushed it down because there's so much stuff that they have to teach, and all those tests and stuff like that.
We're in competition with other countries. The problem is other countries do a better job raising their children with better foods. They don't have as many GMOs. They don't have all the things that we have.
No, yeah.
They put more attention into education. They don't make it all about sports every single weekend. They have to play soccer so they can get a scholarship, because a lot of them don't have the pressure of having to pay $60,000 a year or more for college. So there's a bunch of stuff that's going on. And I'm not saying that any of it's right or wrong. I'm saying there's circumstances that have been created.
Right. So all these stress levels, which there are a gazillion of them, there are certain things that are within our control, and that's kind of what I focus on here. finding things that give each other tools that are within our control. So one thing in our control is what we put in our bodies and what we feed our kids. We were just talking to Dr. Vinny about using some natural products in order to protect us from ticks and from mosquitoes and from sun care, using natural products as opposed to products like DEETs and things like that. And again, they're effective. They do work. Some people may choose to do them. No judgment there. I just know that those kind of products I prefer not to put on my children. And
go on EWG.org. Go do the research. I'm telling you, listening audience, and see just how horrible some of these products are. EWG.org.
Okay.
They're not for profit. They actually show the studies of what all these different chemicals that are put in our products, what they can result in. And I know for a fact because I used some of the products with a certain ingredient in for many, many years, and I started getting severe hormone changes. And I started, everything about my life I was trying to change to get myself back. And,
right.
and as much as I meditated, I would hear skin products in my head. It's like your higher knowing telling you. But I didn't want to give up my skin cream because I thought it made me look younger.
Yeah.
It took me 2 years.
You can't look any younger.
Well,
you're gorgeous.
Listen, maybe it worked. Who knows? But 2 years later, I finally couldn't take it anymore, my symptoms, and I felt like I was aging inappropriately, and I started looking at the ingredients, and there it was, endocrine interrupters, and like 6 or 7 of the body creams, face creams, and everything I was using. Got off of everything. 6 months later, I was using only almond oil and coconut oil and all kinds of things, and at first I was scared to death. I'm just going to start wrinkling up like a prune. But I have more people complimenting my skin now than ever before, and my hormones shifted.
Yeah,
I feel back like as I normally would. Some people would attribute it to age. They would just say, "Oh, I'm aging, so things are changing." I didn't buy that.
Yeah,
it was too abrupt too.
Yeah.
I did not buy that. I felt like I was living a life of a young person. I shouldn't be aging. A lot of other countries, the women or the men do not age as fast as they do in the United States.
Right.
But so we are because
and
why?
you do have beautiful skin.
Well, thank you for
beautiful
that.
Skin.
But it's truly because I use all natural products, and whatever I put in, I try to make as organic as possible. And let me just say something, because people think, well, she can afford it. And the truth is that I really can't, under somebody's normal opinion of this. What I do is I actually eat less because the food I eat is so whole and pure and good.
Yes.
It fills me up. I don't need to eat anything else.
Yes.
So my budget is lower than anyone else, and that I know.
Because your body starts craving the good food, and you don't want the other food anymore. I found that myself in the nutritional program that I'm in right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't crave it. I don't crave the sugar products anymore, and I don't crave the carbs. Although, I do like my pastas, so I have it once in a while. But I don't crave it. I used to crave
try
it.
soba noodles. And
yes, I just started that. That's
absolutely
so
wonderful.
good.
And you'll just replace a couple of meals with that. That's it.
I love that. You're listening to Healthy Lifestyle on Long Island News Radio 103.9. I'm Lori-Ann Casdia, and we are speaking to my good friend Donna Martini. So to continue on that conversation as far as eating healthy, and we have those things in our control. And I think a lot of the depression I'm seeing, so much depression out there, I think is chemical imbalance, and it's because we feel like everything is out of our control. So the thing that I was taught on a spiritual level is you just need to focus on you and what you could do to contribute positively back to society and serve others. And when you're serving others, that lack of control goes away because you're actually doing good things for other people. It also lifts you up while you're lifting other people up. What's your thoughts on that?
My mother started us very young, taking us everywhere to like the nursing homes and the school for special kids, they called it back then,
sure.
Suffolk State School. And she would take us with her on our volunteer jaunts. And we learned early on about giving back. And I always had that philosophy, shared it with my kids. They give back.
Yeah, mine too.
Mine too. Going back to how we can try to keep our kids on the straight and narrow, as they say. I have a saying, you cannot have a clear head without a clean body. And so if we don't obviously do that, that's number one in priority. We have to be very cognizant of everything we're putting in their bodies. And a lot of times parents will just give sugar or give things to the kids a treat. It's a reward. And they're not thinking about the long-term consequences. But these kids are developing habits very early. And they're learning how to self-medicate. because a lot of times my mother would give my sister, when she was sad and lonely because she was the youngest and she was 4 years younger, so she was like kind of isolated.
Sure.
And my mother would take her to Carvel, or she turns out she gained so much weight she became obese because always food was her comfort. My mother didn't realize that.
Well, she wasn't doing it with intent, that's
No,
for sure.
of course not. And my mother could eat anything she wanted and had a different constitution. My sister took after my father's family, who gained by looking at food. So we have to be really aware of what's going on with that. And then the bullying situation. Why aren't we teaching the law of return? Whatever you are doing to someone, you deserve to get back. There's a simple, energetic principle. Okay? That's all it is.
Yes, and we can do that in our homes. That's what I'm talking about, control.
You know what? We have them in school for a certain amount of hours. We should be taking responsibility for that. It's not like we're not paying a fortune for their education through our taxes. We should, and it would behoove the teachers and the schools, because they would be better children to teach. They would be behaving better.
This is
true.
So
we can all take responsibility. Absolutely.
Well, it goes back to that. It takes a village, and it really does. But it also starts in the home, and you have to set the parameters, and you have to really teach your children. I mean, like you, I taught my children. You volunteer, you give back. It's a natural thing.
So let's go to then the almost 35% of our children living in single parent households. They're under the stress of their parents' divorce, so they don't have the money. The mother has to work 2 jobs. I worked 2 jobs. My kids were in daycare, after school care, and school care. We have an enormous amount of our population like this. We have very few of our kids in double parent households where they have the mom at home who could do, organic cooking and shopping. It's really going to be hard to come down and say that every parent has to do this, every parent has to do that. We can have more control over a majority if we do certain things in the schools that would be simple, that would actually make the education system easier to deal with,
right?
More economical,
right?
And then a healthier environment.
Yeah, but
that's where the bullying is going on.
I agree. It definitely is, and it's not we're not working together, because I know when I had my kids in the school system, the school kind of stopped you from having any participation in the school. They would only give you limited participation, and I understand the reasoning behind it, but we need to work together. The parents and the school need to work together.
But I'm going to go back to saying you have parents who are not even good to one another, bullying each other in a divorce. You have the child who's a product of that coming into the school.
Totally.
And then the children who are being abused by that kid who's bullying. That's why we should be concentrating on doing it in school as a system. And then, of course, it has to go back to the adults, parents. But if we don't have the parents, that's where the kids get stuck.
But
that's where the abuse happens.
And I agree with you. We're on the same length. The only thing that I'm pointing out is that we can only change what's in our control. And what is in your control is how you're raising your kids. What is in control is what you're doing for yourself. In a lot of cases, the parents aren't feeling good about themselves because they're going through divorce.
Well,
and things like
I wrote the book, The 10 Commandments of Divorce. So, of course, I believe that. And the reason why, my years and years of experience, is some people cannot get over their pain. Their children are experiencing horror in the household. They're going into school, and that's where there's the outlet. But, in all my research, too, though, I've seen that children growing up now will say that they saw what they didn't want to be, and there was a teacher in school who actually showed them a better way.
Yeah.
And so we have our teachers are role models.
So those role models, which I refer to as our true heroes, those are the role models that we need to reach out to. I mean, we all have mentors. I know I have mentors. You have mentors. Those are my role models. I mean, my parents were always role models, but they provide certain guidance. They did when they were around. And that still stays with me today. They're the ones who created that giving back feeling, that's what we had to do. It's just what you did. No different than going to college. It's just what you did in my family. It wasn't a choice. Your next step after high school was going to college. Your responsibility was giving back to your community. You don't just look out to yourself. So to me, it points back to, you have to look at yourself, look at what you need to do, and try to focus on you and work with the school systems and other people and find goodness. And we have to try to eradicate focusing on the negative, because we spend so much time on negative. I don't even turn on the news anymore in my house. It's just too negative. It just, all it does is it focus on all these bad things, when I know that there's more than 70% of good things happening on a daily basis. I just saw out here in the parking lot somebody helping another person. They didn't know each other at all. I watched it transpire across the parking parking lot. It was beautiful. That stuff happens every single day.
Well, I think being a wellness professional and needing to know what's going on in the world, I try to find television or radio that can tell me the truth without having to worry about opinion.
Right.
But I actually turn to social media to hear about all the good stuff going on.
Yes.
All the time that I'm seeing it. And I've weeded. I mean, there's a lot of ways to weed out on Facebook. You can literally stop following people who may not be always, they may be negative all the time or insulting or opinionating or whatever, or using political, prowess to try to sway people. And I don't have to follow them. They're not in my newsfeed.
Right.
So I have all these beautiful stories I get to see. I get to see videos of people doing amazing things.
Yes.
And so that lifts me up. So I don't really rely on television either, to be honest, because it's, I think, less trustworthy. Some of these videos from these off-sites, websites now that are really trying to bring truth and goodness.
Yeah.
One of my favorite people in the world, Michael Rowe, where he's...
Oh, yes.
Yes, and he has a couple of shows where he's trying to show really good things about people, what they do all over the country. And then it's inspiring, too. I'm like, you know what? I feel like I'm not doing enough. As much as I volunteer every day, I still feel like I should be doing more.
Yes, yeah.
For more people.
And that's what happens when you start doing it. You just want to do more because it makes you feel good. And, you're helping other people and lifting them up. And that's what we're here to do. Mm-hmm. So we really need to start focusing more on that. I really need to bring you back, Donna. We need to co-anchor this and do another show. I'm hoping you'll do a whole show with me.
Oh my gosh, I'm in.
That would be great. Really, thank you so much for coming on.
We should do a coaching session online. Right on air.
We'll do that. We'll definitely do that.
Bring somebody in.
Sounds good. Sounds definitely good. Thank you so much for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle. Thank you, Donna, as always, for coming on. Thank you to Dr. Vinny. I really appreciate him coming on. Of course, our producer, Brian, who is silent but excellent. Feel free to jump in anytime to the conversations, Brian, when you want to. In the meantime, follow us and send us comments on social media at Healthy Lifestyle with LA. You can certainly send us an email to healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. If you miss any interviews or would like to hear some previous interviews, look for us on SoundCloud. Remember, as I always say, do a little something for yourself every day. It starts there. It doesn't have to be big, but definitely take a moment to do something for yourself. Create the habit, create the new balance, make this your new norm. Thank you so much for joining us on Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lorianne Casdia. Until next time, show up for you and show up big.